have China Tzu Chi volunteers conduct home visits in Shandong prior to winter aid distributions. We meet aerial photographer Bolin, who is the first in Taiwan to make a documentary from above the air. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Wendy Chen. Thank you for joining us. First up in Thailand, in a suburb of Bangkok, a fire destroyed 50 houses and left 120 families homeless. A day after the blaze, Bangkok Tzu Chi volunteers carried out a disaster survey and handed out emergency cash and relief items to the fire survivors.
Here in Thailand, a fire survivor looks through the charred debris of his house for anything that is salvageable. He never thought someone else's argument could affect him so much.
Before the fire started, a husband and wife had an argument. Afterwards, the husband threw motorcycle fuel into their house and lit it on fire. Afterwards, the fire reached the propane tank and it exploded.
The fire not only hurt one family, but destroyed 50 houses nearby and affected a total of 120 households in the community. Thankfully, no one was hurt, and the community head opened up the nearby activity center as a temporary shelter. Tzu Chi volunteers also came by to comfort, as well as hand out emergency cash and blankets to each household.
When the fire happened, it was very chaotic. All my belongings are now gone, but thankfully there are kind-hearted people to help us recover and give us supplies.
Today I came to help pack the relief items. I don't feel tired from the work. I'm glad I can help these disaster survivors.
With all their belongings destroyed by the fire, the helplessness of residents can be seen and felt. However, the volunteers' continuous reassurance has given them hope of rebuilding their lives.
I'm very thankful Tzu Chi volunteers are here to help us. Your encouragement eases my sorrows. I am now filled with courage to stand back up and live my life.
Tzu Chi volunteers are not only providing short-term relief, but next week they will return with uniforms and stationery for the children and look into providing building materials to help rebuild the homes, ensuring this companionship is a lasting one.
Moving to China in preparation of the coming winter aid distributions, Eastern China and Qingdao Tzu Chi volunteers surveyed a remote village in Fei County of Shandong province. In the course of their visit, the volunteers came across numerous poor and solitary seniors whose children were all working out of town. The volunteers not only offered these seniors with words of encouragement, but also promised to return soon with aid supplies to help them through the cold winter.
Living in a remote mountain area, this senior is surprised at seeing so many guests. Surrounded by Tzu Chi volunteers' love and care, Grandma Li looks forward to the volunteers' presence again in December.
With your help, I don't have to work anymore. I don't have to cook either.
As Tzu Chi's winter aid distribution draws near, the volunteers arrived at this remote community with good news. The senior residents here in Fei County of Linyi are excited upon seeing the volunteers.
My children have no money, so they cannot feed us. You bring us food. You're more thoughtful than my children.
Despite living in poverty, this elderly couple offers each other plentiful emotional support. To these solitary seniors, the volunteers' care is one of their most cherished gifts. Despite the language barrier, Tzu Chi's love transcends all boundaries.
你好棒哦，你都自己做饭。
哦，我读不读差不多了，怎么办？你们读我来做给你们。
啊，你们都到屋里来做，这一句话我听懂了。
Immobile Grandma Zhang, who lives alone, is in desperate need of outside help.
Don't cry. Look, we are all your family members. We are here to visit you.
对不对？
When it's time to say goodbye, Grandma Zhang can't help crying.
The best way to help the needy is through collective efforts.
We need more volunteers who will go back and recruit more kind-hearted people.
We continue our reports on Xiamen care recipient Yang Xiaodong as he heads towards the final phase of his spinal correction surgery. Although the last surgery only took 2 hours, it was an extremely high-risk surgery. Thanks to the Honorary Superintendent of Hualien Tzu Chi Hospital, Chen Yinghe, and his team of medical staff, the surgery was a success.
来来去去，带着满怀慈悲，匆匆忙忙，为了度化人间。
This is the scene at the annual TIMA conference in Hualien, Taiwan. On stage, Xiamen care recipient Yang Xiaodong sings to express his thanks to all the hardworking medical staff.
Thank you to all the medical staff. Also, I want to thank my physiotherapist and superintendent Chen Yinghe.
To be able to walk upright once again, Yang Xiaodong had to go through 5 major surgeries. According to Dr. Chen Yinghe, the last surgery was the most difficult.
When we were adjusting his back, we saw changes in his nervous system. I knew that something was wrong. The risks grew greater and greater as we proceed with the surgery.
Seeing the changes in his nervous system, the medical staff proceed with extra caution. Luckily, prior to the surgery, medical staff had attached a monitoring device to Xiaodong's leg to track the state of his nervous system.
当你发现有异常的时候，
When we realized that something unusual was happening, we adjust the surgery accordingly. When this number increased by 2 to 3%, this area was less than 50%. We quickly told the surgeon that something was wrong with the patient's nervous system.
The anesthesia team was led by Chen Zongying, who is the deputy superintendent of Hualien Tzu Chi Hospital. To help Superintendent Chen Yinghe during the surgery, Chen Zongying monitored any changes to Xiaodong's circulatory or nervous system.
用比较强力的方法来把它拉开的时候，可想而知一定会造成。
If we pull too much or with too much force, we could cause massive damage to Yang Xiaodong's nervous system and the nearby blood vessels. It is very dangerous if his blood vessels are cut during the surgery.
To make sure the surgery went smoothly, doctors looked closely at Xiaodong's x-rays to ensure the surgical screws were placed safely and correctly.
那其实部分在经过这3次手术以后，它的屈曲变形。
Before Xiaodong's back was bent at about 130 degrees. After 3 surgeries, his back is now at about 30 degrees. We have accomplished our initial goal.
Knowing that Yang Xiaodong is in good hands, his mother, Tzu Chi, has decided to devote herself to recycling. During their stay at the hospital, Tzu sees every opportunity to practice recycling to reciprocate the Tzu Chi volunteers' love and care.
Every day, Xiaodong would ask me to volunteer at the recycling station. I was sick the other day, and he asked me why I didn't go to practice recycling. He told me to stop eating and go help out.
As the weather is nice out, Yang Xiaodong and his mother decided to go out for a walk as part of his rehabilitation. Now able to stand upright again, Yang is looking towards a future that will only get brighter.
Following his successful spinal correction surgeries in Taiwan, Yang Xiaodong have returned to Xiamen on October 30th. As Yang arrived at the Xiamen airport, media reporters showed up to interview him to learn this amazing story of cross-strait medical cooperation.
At the Xiamen airport, local and national press are already waiting for Yang Xiaodong. Later, at a press conference, Xiaodong shares his stories of Tzu Chi's help with his spinal injuries.
我们台湾慈济志工
Taiwan Tzu Chi volunteers are like our family. Thanks to Tzu Chi's medical missions, Xiaodong has shown miraculous progress.
这个是医疗上一个奇迹。
The news of Xiaodong's return soon spread throughout the community. Despite the difficulty, Xiaodong insists on walking to his house, where his grandmother is waiting for his return. Seeing her grandson's improvement, Xiaodong's grandmother is all smiles.
I'm very happy. Xiaodong is a good boy. Yes, I am. I will introduce you, girlfriends.
As Xiaodong returns to his hometown and continues his rehab, Tzu Chi's medical team sends Dr. Liu Guanling to discuss Shandong's rehab plan with a local hospital. In the next morning, Tzu Chi volunteers once again go to Shandong's house to see if there's anything they can help out with. His brother and sister-in-law also return home for a family reunion.
It's good to have family around. My daughter-in-law also came back yesterday. They drove us to enjoy a meal at a restaurant. That's lovely.
To keep his recovery progressing, Shandong is already doing rehab exercises on a regular basis. His effort and dedication has moved his mother.
He works really hard at his rehab. He walked for at least 40 minutes this morning.
哎呦，可以呢！真的哇！我现在算一下，1、2、3。
As part of his personal rehab program, Shandong takes advantage of the equipment at a playground to do his exercise. By doing so, Shandong hopes to keep improving his mobility prior to the start of his regular rehab at the local hospital.
To ensure the sustainability of its national health insurance, the United States federal government needs to increase their annual budget by $100 billion each year. And a study conducted by the American Medical Association showed that 47% of medical professionals feel that preventive medicine can help lower healthcare costs. The U.S. Tzu Chi Medical Foundation has thus over the years continued to educate residents in preventive care in hopes of lowering the chances of future illness.
Let me just explain to you about this mammogram. Over here, it shows this is the left breast, and it's a little bit dense, which means it's a little bit thicker.
Dr. Kerting thoroughly takes a patient through her mammogram. In a joint collaboration between California Medical Systems and Tzu Chi, free mammogram services are now available for low-income females 40 years and above.
When you do the monthly examination, you go like this and then check your breasts, okay? See if there's any dimpling or any unevenness.
Asian women are more conservative, especially when it comes to doing a mammogram, let alone a pap smear. They feel it's too exposed, so they shy away from coming in for checkups.
Another contributing factor is the cost of examinations. Liu Yanzhen, who has been living in the US for 30 years now, only has hospital coverage. For an examination such as a mammogram, she will have to pay out of her own pocket.
The cost of a basic hospital examination is at least $300, and if you are diagnosed, you have to go in again, and it's another fee, not to mention the cost of the treatment you might need.
Although everyone will have insurance once the Healthcare Act takes effect, Tzu Chi will continue to uphold our mission to safeguard the health of residents. And in terms of Western medicine, our focus will be on preventative care.
Okay, on the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One more time, like that. 1.
Tzu Chi volunteers lead a group of Mexican seniors from the community of Wilmington in a series of exercises, while team Dr. Du Youqing takes the lead and invites fellow medical staff to join him on a health walk.
The key is to be active. We hope everyone can walk at least 10,000 steps a day. We hope that our patients will join us on our walks, so we have more opportunities to interact with them.
Meanwhile, at the free clinic, Chinese medicine doctors also show patients how to improve their own health.
As a starting point, we want to create awareness that prevention is better than cure. So we made these cards, which show residents how they can improve their health.
In the future, Tzu Chi will continue to hold free clinics in communities nationwide. Many people were worried at first, but we will continue to work to reach those in the darkest corners. This is the mission Master Zhen Yan has entrusted us with, to help the poor and heal the sick.
Combining the strengths of Chinese and Western medicine and promoting preventive medicine through free clinics, Tzu Chi remains committed to safeguarding the health of those in the United States.
Have you ever seen Taiwan from above? Bolin, an aerial photographer who originally worked at the Ministry of Transportation and Communications, was in charge of recording highway constructions from the air and had since fallen in love with the job. Over the past 2 decades, the man has captured over 400,000 photos of Taiwan, but was shocked by the images he recorded of Typhoon Morakot in 2009. It was then he was inspired to quit his job and spend the next 3 years to make a documentary on Taiwan. Here's more. As high as the clouds and with the view shared by the creatures in the air, this is what Taiwan looks like from above. Bolin is the first to be making a documentary of Taiwan through filming it from the air.
When I first started, I wasn't familiar with Taiwan's environment. It is through seeing our homeland from the air that I started to get to know the country we live in.
Chi first rode helicopters 20 years ago to shoot photos for work and had since fallen in love with aerial photography.
In fact, I've long ago wanted to share my images so that more Taiwanese people will get to know their country. When Typhoon Morakot hit, I was able to fly to the disaster areas right away to capture the scenery. What I saw was really terrifying because it felt like Armageddon. It felt like the end of the world. Seeing so many fellow citizens suffering and how cruel natural disasters can be, that made me even more determined to make this documentary.
Unwilling to wait until he was too old, Bolin decided to quit his government job and give up his $1 million retirement fund to devote himself to making the documentary. In the air, Chi gets to witness the vast ocean that surrounds Taiwan and the beauty of the land. However, there's another side which worries him.
In the process of Taiwan's economic development, we often neglect to respect and coexist with Mother Earth. We often see rivers polluted in many different colors flowing into the ocean and contaminating our coastlines. The peaks of mountains are supposed to be the most beautiful, yet it seems to be a different scene nowadays. These lands are very fragile because when we start chopping down trees, the forest will lose its ability to conserve water and soil. In fact, I'm really worried. Our friends on the mountains are there to make a living and they must stay there for their survival. But when natural disaster hit, their lives are put in danger. In this documentary, we did not make a lot of accusations. We are telling a story of our land in hopes of reminding everyone to be more considerate towards our environment. We hope the future of our homeland will be bright and beautiful.
Using the 400 hours spent in the air over the past 3 years, Bolin aims to share the beauty of Taiwan with his audience. Taiwan not only offers magnificent scenery, but is also home to our loved ones. Hence, those living here should learn to coexist with our environment.
At the end of the film, there's a song called Clapping Your Hands, which I feel will bring a positive force and encouragement to the citizens of Taiwan. As we are faced with the pressure of today's society and the destruction caused by natural disasters, sometimes I think Taiwanese people have it tough both physically and emotionally. The song is to encourage everyone to move forward with courage.
Recently, Central Taiwan Tzu Chi volunteers have geared up their efforts at the Tzu Chi Holy Liaison Office as they work to complete the prefabricated classrooms destined for Semboanga of the Philippines. Some volunteers temporarily moved into the liaison office, while others even closed their business for the time being to devote their energies into this project. Let's take a look.
Tzu Chi volunteers are working around the clock to complete the prefabricated classrooms on time. Chief Coordinator Yang Wei-zhi closed his business for the month to devote his time to completing the project. He also brought his son along to help out.
We should just do it. We are doing this for the disaster survivors. We are doing the right thing. We hope we can complete the classrooms soon for the children in the Philippines.
Another committed volunteer is 65-year-old Zhang Biaolie. Worried that his precious time was being wasted on travels each day, Zhang moved into the Holy Liaison Office instead.
Not too much. My wife also spends her time volunteering. My children are all grown up now, so I do not have to worry.
The task of assembling the classrooms is left in the hands of the Tzu Chi brothers, while tasks which require attention to detail are done by the Tzu Chi sisters. 80-year-old Xu Wangjiao comes to help out every day.
If you enjoy doing the task, you won't feel tired at all. Doing this is not tiring.
With each one doing their share, Tzu Chi volunteers hope to complete the first batch of 30 prefab classrooms, which will be shipped to Zamboanga on November 13th.
As Tzu Chi's year-end blessing ceremonies are just around the corner, for the past 2 weeks, Tzu Chi volunteers and community residents from different districts and even from abroad have gathered to make blessing and wisdom bread envelopes at the Tzu Chi Taipei chapter.
Visiting the Tzu Chi Taipei chapter in Taiwan to learn how to make the blessings and wisdom red envelopes are Canada Tzu Chi volunteers. Very soon they realize it is not an easy task.
Before, when I received the blessing and wisdom red envelope, I would just look at it and then put it aside. Now I know that I have to cherish these red envelopes.
All the volunteers are very focused on their tasks. I can tell when they have truly taken the Master's Dharma to heart. These blessing and wisdom red envelopes are sure to be filled with abundant blessings.
To make the wisdom and blessing red envelopes, the most important key is patience. Although diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, volunteer Ye Xuejia insists on volunteering her time to help.
It is a blessing to be able to do good deeds. I want to contribute my share even for just an hour.
Despite having to wear reading glasses to make the red envelopes, the seniors here all focus on their task. Among the volunteers is Zhang Baozhen, who says she is here to repent for her past mistakes.
I am here today to say sorry to a Tzu Chi sister. I made a big mistake. I didn't concentrate and wrongfully blamed her. I realized that it is important to put my heart into whatever I am doing.
Every blessings and wisdom red envelopes is embedded with the hard work of volunteers. Through them, the volunteers hope to create good affinity and pass on their blessings.
We go back to China at the end of the show. After 3 months of practice and hard work, 97 on-stage volunteers in Tianjin put on the sign language musical of the Sutra of Profound Gratitude to Parents on October 20th. Volunteers overcome all obstacles to put on a perfect show in hopes of inspiring their audience to fulfill their filial duties. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for tuning in. Goodbye.